St. Paul's College, University of Sydney, 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 of Sydney. St. Paul's College is an Anglican residential college which is affiliated with the University of Sydney in Sydney, Australia. Founded in 1856, it is Australia's oldest university college. St. Paul's is familiarly referred to as Pauls, its residents as Paulins, and its alumni as Old Paulins. Alumni include prime ministers, deputy prime ministers, federal and state government ministers, High Court of Australia justices, Court of Appeal presidents and justices, Supreme Court chief justices and justices, pioneering surgeons and physicists, Australian of the Year recipients, and 29 Rhodes Scholars. The college has nearly 360 residents, of whom about 260 are undergraduate men, the remainder are postgraduate women, and men undertaking further study or holding university positions. In 2019, the college opened its modern graduate house community with rooms for an additional 140 postgraduate students and university academics. It retains most of its original 7-hectare, 18-acre grant and has its own oval. History. St. Paul's was the first university college in Australia. Its development followed an unsuccessful attempt by members of the Anglican Church to incorporate the earlier St. James's College within the new University of Sydney, and was led by Sir Alfred Stephen, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of New South Wales. The new governing document provides for a college council with 12 fellows, 4 of whom must be elected Anglican clergy, 6 elected laymen, and 2 appointed laymen, one of which must be a University of Sydney academic. Fellows serve 6-year, renewable terms and are elected by graduates of the college who have spent at least 3 semesters in residence. The college is an independent body corporate, legally designated as the Warden and Fellows of St. Paul's College. By this time, the college had its own distinct intellectual tradition, foreshadowed by the founders a liberal Anglicanism which took seriously the challenges involved in combining religious and secular knowledge and in making the English Church useful to the Australian nation. The number of Paulins from this period who are now listed in the Australian Dictionary of Biography is evidence of the way the college was in step with the times. The original building was designed in Gothic style by English-born architect Edmund Blackett. Blackett was a distinguished ecclesiastical architect. He also designed the main university building and supervised the construction of the Catholic St. John's College at the same university. Other buildings include a chapel designed by John Leslie Stephen Mansfield and completed in 1968, and a residential wing designed by Clive Lucas, Stapleton and Partners, which opened in 1999. In November 2009, a Sydney paper reported that several former residents of the college, all players on the same social soccer team, were members of a Facebook group described itself as pro-rape, anti-consent. The group was alleged by the reporter to be part of a broader culture amongst privileged youths, which demeaned women in a sexist or sexually violent way. Warden Ivan had issued a public response condemning the students' behavior. At the 2010 World University Debating Championship, 2 former Paul's students, Chris Croak and Steve Hind, took the title, winning the final against teams from Oxford, Harvard, and the London School of Economics. Since the 1890s, the college has fostered social justice ideals as part of the liberal Anglican tradition, and most students are involved at some point in philanthropic activities. During the first decade of the 21st century, half the male Rhodes Scholars from Sydney University have been Paulins. In 2010, Jack Manning Bancroft was named NSW Young Australian of the Year for his work in Indigenous education. Heraldry. Officially granted by the Earl Marshal in 1961, the college coat of arms displays crossed swords and the Maltese cross to represent St. Paul in the official colors of gold and gules. The college's motto, Deo Patri Tibi, can be translated as for God, country, and yourself. Academic honors. The college boasts a long list of academic honors, and its website lists many university medalists since 2005. Its Rhodes Scholarship list is given below. 1907 Garnet Veer Portis 1883, 1954, in college 1903-4, afterwards cleric, professor of history and political science, University of Adelaide, and radio broadcaster. 1908 Richard Grandal Waddy 1885-1974, in college 1905-9, afterwards medical practitioner. 1911 Hugh Kingsley Ward 1887-1972, in college 1909-10, afterwards professor of bacteriology, University of Sydney. 1915 Walter Ferguson Crawford 1894-1978, in college 1913-14, afterwards knighted, governor of Northern Sudan. 1920 Vernon Headentry 1897-1984, in college 1915-16, afterwards knighted, NSW Minister for Justice and Chief Commissioner for the City of Sydney. 1925 Alan Robert Callaghan 1903-93, in college 1922-24, afterwards knighted and South Australian Director of Agriculture. 1931 David Arthur Garnsey 1909-96, in college 1927-29, afterwards Bishop of Gippsland. 1935 Keith Noel Everell Bradfield 1910-2006, in college 1930-33, afterwards OBE and Civil Aviation Advisor to the Government of Papua New Guinea, 1939 Walter Lawrence Hughes 1917-99, in college 1934-38, afterwards KT, head of an engineering and shipbuilding firm and government advisors. 1940 Basil Holmes Travers 1998, in college 1938-39, afterwards headmaster of Shore. 1946 William Winslow Woodward 1920-87, in college 1939-40, afterwards medical practitioner. 1948 Louis Walter Davies 1923-2001, in college 1941, afterwards AO and professor of electrical engineering, University of NSW. 1951 Adrian Peter Henchman 1927-89, in college 1946-50, afterwards Sydney Solicitor, Sydney Solicitor, Sydney Solicitor, Sydney Solicitor, Sydney Solicitor, words Sydney Solicitor, Solicitor, words Sydney Solicitor. 1953 James Graham MacLeod B. 1932, in college 1949-53, afterwards AO and professor of neurology, Sydney University. 1956 John Maxwell Bailey B. 1935, in college 1954, afterwards attached to the European Atomic Energy Commission, Geneva. 1960 Malcolm John Swinburne B. 1937, in college 1956-60, afterwards a medical practitioner. 1961 Peter Garnsey B. 1938, in college 1956-60, afterwards professor of the history of classical antiquity, Cambridge, and fellow of Jesus College. 1964 John Dyson Haydon B. 1943, in college 1960-64, afterwards AC and High Court Justice. 1975 Peter Edward King B. 1952, in college 1971-75, afterwards Sydney barrister and federal MP. 1990 Andrew Scott Bell B. 1966, in college 1985-89, afterwards Sydney barrister SC. 1992 Scott Nixon B. 1968, in college 1986-91, afterwards Sydney barrister. 1995 Peter Raymond Barnett B. 1971, in college 1990-94, afterwards UK businessmen and philanthropists. 2001 Andrew Henry Charlton B. 1978, in college 1997-99, afterwards director of Alpha Beta. 2003 Benjamin Juratovic B. 1978, in college 1998, afterwards Paris barrister QC. 2007 Eric Ronald Wing-Fi Knight B. 1983, in college 2002-4, afterwards associate professor and pro-vice chancellor research, enterprise and engagement, University of Sydney. 2009 Nicholas Norman Patrick Kirby B. 1984, in college 2005-9, afterwards research fellow in philosophy and public policy, Blavatnik School of Government, Oxford. 2010 David Colin Conway Llewellyn B. 1985, in college 2006-9, afterwards CEO of the Good Lad Initiative and DJ's Antibodies. 2011 Nathaniel John Weirby 1988, in college 2009-11, afterwards social impact economist. 2013 Patrick Harry Brian Bateman B. 1987, in college 2006-10, afterwards management consultant and policy advisors. Wardens. The following individuals have served as warden of St. Paul's College. Controversy. In 2009, a pro-rape Facebook page was formed by a group of past and present St. Paul's students. The page, defying statutory, described itself as anti-consent. For this, the students of St. Paul's received the 2009 Ernie Awards for sexist behavior. In June 2012, an article critical of one of St. Paul's dinner events appeared in a local Australian newspaper. The controversy was over an event with the theme End of the British Raj. When the college students arrived in the dress code white tie or colonial uniform, they were met by the usual college catering staff of Indian and South Asian descent, dressed in colorful traditional cultural garments, following which the university student newspaper protested against it in a letter, British Raj beyond bad taste. On 6 June 2012, the University Student Representative Council passed a motion condemning the themed party by writing a letter to the college's spokesman and the warden asking for an explanation. Later, many Indian media groups covered this news with copies of the original Sydney Morning Herald article. Allegations of systemic sexism and misogyny surfaced again in 2017 following a post on the college's Facebook page which compared women to harpooned whales. The college had refused to participate in a university-wide review into culture led by Elizabeth Broderick. Michael Spence, the vice-chancellor of the University of Sydney, raised concerns regarding the deep contempt for women and the cultural problems at the college. In June 2017, Ivan Head, the warden of the college, who had been in the role for 22 years, retired amid concerns regarding his leadership. Appearing on 60 Minutes in July 2017, the parents of Stuart Kelly, the brother of One Punch attack victim Thomas Kelly, who committed suicide in 2016, stated that Kelly had been subjected to hazing and bullying at the college. Kathy Kelly stated he went off to university at Sydney for one night at a college, and he came home a different person the following day. He was broken. Again, the college came in for sustained criticism after the release of the Red Zone report by Nina Funnell on 26 February 2017. Reportedly, some rituals allegedly involved male students at Sydney University's residential colleges masturbating into shampoo bottles belonging to female students and defecating in hallways. In particular, Funnell called for the criminalization of hazing rituals at colleges like St. Paul's. Her call for the criminalization of that conduct follows public comments by Kathy and Ralph Kelly that they believe their son, Stuart Kelly, committed suicide as a result of hazing rituals at the college in 2016. In response, Spence said the university would support a coronial inquest into Stuart's death. Following Broderick's review into college culture at the University of Sydney's colleges, St. Paul's released a response in which it indicated it would address all recommendations. Alumni of St. Paul's College are commonly referred to as Old Paulins. Alumni include 2 former prime ministers, 3 high court judges, Supreme Court judges, and 29 Rhodes Scholars, as well as influential figures in business, the law, public service, religion, science, the arts, and sports. Among the most notable Old Paulins are Sir William McMahon, 20th Prime Minister of Australia 1971–1972, Go Whitlam, 21st Prime Minister of Australia 1972 to 1975, John Anderson, former Deputy Prime Minister of Australia 1999–2005. Gallery == references ==